High school graduates like you are a disgrace to our family. Leave now.
My sister's mill suddenly tried to have me leave at my sister's wedding. I was stunned by her words and stopped moving. My sister is a doctor who is working at the hospital where my mill is employed. However, my sister's marriage and my education level really have nothing to do with each other. Besides, that information is entirely incorrect. I was about to stand up right then and loudly object to her. But at that moment, someone stepped forward in front of my sister's mill. It was the bride, the main character of today's event, my sister.
Wait, you don't know what my brother's job, do you?
Mill probably didn't expect my sister to argue with her. Then, my sister's Phil, who is the director of the hospital, rushed over to Mill stunned. His face flushed with anger and embarrassment. He scolded them while dripping with sweat.
What are you saying? Don't you know? He actually is.
My name is Michael Johnson. I'm 34 years old and working as a freelancer. I am very busy with my work, so I am working not only in Japan, but also overseas when I receive requests to do so. My parents passed away 4 years ago, but I have an older sister, Emily, who is a doctor and a year older than me. My sister, Emily, is my only family. I heard from her just recently. Emily, it's been a while, what's up? Is something wrong?
Well, I'm getting married soon.
What? That's awesome, congratulations. She was single until she turned 35, and I thought she was never going to get married. It's great news that she found happiness. I'm really happy for her.
I was waiting until you got your girlfriend before I got married, but I don't want to keep him waiting any longer.
What are you talking about? If you waited for me to get my girlfriend, you might never get married. Emily laughed and added in a gentle voice.
Don't say that. Find someone nice and let me know.
Okay, I will, eventually. I learned from my sister's story that she would marry Andrew Johnson, the son of the heir to the hospital where she is working, and that he is a doctor. My sister, who is working as a pediatrician at the hospital, met him as a colleague working at the same hospital, and they have been together for a long time now.
Andrew's sister is the same grade and same high school as you. Do you remember her?
Well, what a coincidence. I wonder if we were in the same class. I was surprised when Emily revealed an unexpected fact.
She said you might remember her. Her name is Luna.
What? Luna? Is she Luna Johnson? I was surprised, and my sister asked curiously,
Is something wrong?
No, nothing. I am looking forward to seeing Luna again. As I hung up the phone, a bitter memory of my high school days came back to my mind. The reason her name surprised me so much is that there's a backstory. Actually, I had a period in high school where I suffered from numbness in my hands and feet. After a while, my condition would improve, but any physical activity or playing instruments in music class would leave me unable to stand. My condition worsened to the point where I couldn't attend school regularly. Most of my friends were concerned, but there were exceptions. The most cruel person among them was Luna. He was in the same class with me. Luna was the center of the class and wanted everything to go her way. She blamed me for breaking the class's perfect attendance record and constantly complained. No matter how much I explained my genuine health issues, she labeled them as fake excuses. My symptoms gradually worsened, making school attendance almost impossible. When I went to school on days I was feeling slightly better, Luna would notice me and say, "Oh, you're not skipping class today, are you?" You must have been playing video games at home all day, huh? You'll never get into any college. I didn't hate my high school, but I didn't like seeing Luna. Just the thought of the person I hated so much becoming a relative of mine made me feel uncomfortable. But now, Luna is a mature adult in her mid-30s. I hoped her attitude might have changed. Eventually, my illness progressed, and I had to take a break from school. I started experiencing frequent numbness and paralysis in my limbs. At the hospital, I was diagnosed with a disease called Moyamoya disease. This disease causes blood vessels in the brain to become narrow, resulting in a lack of blood flow to the brain. It's a disease with an unknown cause. It often appears in teenagers and can progress if left untreated, so surgical treatment is sometimes recommended. However, the surgery required connecting external and internal cranial blood vessels, carrying significant risks of complications. As a high school student, I was faced with the decision of whether to opt for internal medical treatment to control my blood pressure or undergo surgical surgery. At first, I intended to have the surgery, but the more I learned about it, I lost the courage to go through with it. There is no definitive cure for Moyamoya disease, so even with medication to lower blood pressure and prevent onset, there's an increased risk of stroke and the burden on Moyamoya vessels trying to compensate for reduced cerebral blood. Therefore, surgery was the usual option, but there was a risk of stroke during anesthesia. It typically takes 1 to 3 months post-surgery for adequate blood flow to resume in the brain, requiring careful monitoring. After listening to the explanation, I was completely terrified of the surgery. That's when my sister introduced me to Dr. Smith, who is known as a genius in brain surgery. Meeting him changed my life. Dr. Smith explained everything thoroughly, showing me successful recovery cases, and I finally decided to proceed. Trusting him, I underwent the surgery. As a result, my surgery was a great success, and I was finally able to return to my healthy condition at the age of 18. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. When I thanked him, Dr. Smith smiled kindly at me.
Now you can pursue your dreams without this illness holding you back.
Thanks to Dr. Smith's words, I am where I am today. A few days after my sister told me about her wedding, she called me again. She wanted me to attend a pre-wedding family meeting. While I'm happy about my sister's wedding, the thought of having to meet Luna again doesn't thrill me. But for my sister's sake, I've decided to participate in it. I was the only family for my sister, as we had no parents. On the day of the meeting, I headed for a renowned hotel located downtown in New York. Today's attendees from the groom's side are Mil, Andrew, and his sister Luna. The groom's father, a hospital director, couldn't make it due to sudden work. From the bride's side, it's just my sister and me. My sister and I arrived at the hotel early and were nervously waiting for the others to arrive. Sis, have you met his mother and sister before?
Yes, his mom is working at the same hospital as me. That's why we're co-workers and work so hard.
My sister answered with a calm smile.
I've heard that his sister, Luna, is working various part-time jobs. I'm looking forward to meeting her for the first time.
While we were chatting, the groom-to-be, Andrew, walked into the room.
Sorry for keeping you waiting.
It's all right. We just got here too.
Andrew has great posture and a sharp look, so I was relieved to see him as a perfect match for my calm sister. Nice to meet you. I'm Emily's younger brother, Michael. I've been looking forward to meeting you.
I've heard a lot about you from Emily. It's nice to finally meet you.
We quickly found common ground, as I enjoy cycling too, and the conversation picked up from there. I was relieved to get along well. Then the door opened again, and the mill and Sil Luna entered the room. The mill is a working doctor, so she moves fast.
So you're Michael. Nice to meet you. I've heard that you were in the same grade as Luna.
I figured whatever Luna told her about me probably wasn't too flattering, so I just let it slide.
Michael, long time no see. How have you been feeling lately?
It's been a while. I'm all better now. Surprisingly, Luna didn't make any snide comments like she used to in high school. She became mature and talked to me in a cheerful mood, and I felt relieved that she seemed all right. The food at the renowned hotel was all delicious, and we had wine and good conversation. My sister and Enru seemed like a well-matched couple, both calm and composed, having been together for a long time. After the meal, my sister and Enru left the table because the hotel garden was beautiful, and they wanted to see it. As soon as they were gone, Luna's attitude changed dramatically.
You're still just lazing around at home, aren't you, Michael?
No, actually, I've been working. I replied with surprise when Luna suddenly asked me the question in a spiky tone of voice. But Luna didn't seem satisfied and continued to scrutinize me from head to toe.
I wonder. I heard you were absent a lot in high school and barely graduated thanks to some pity. And then, you didn't even go to college, did you?
It seems that a person's character doesn't change much over the years. The bright mood I had earlier vanished completely. I felt I needed to clear the misunderstanding. I didn't go to college right after high school because I was ill. Now I'm healthy and working.
But the work you're doing is probably just like playing around, right? You always had a habit of skipping school and goofing off since high school.
I was totally annoyed with Luna, who was sarcastic towards me. I was hoping my sister's mill would come to my rescue, but she just looked at me coldly and added insult to injury.
Everyone in my family has a college degree. Emily, who became a doctor, is very welcome, but you may not fit in with our family.
She then sniffed at me in a mocking manner. So, you're saying I'm not suitable to be part of your family?
That's right. Because you didn't go to college, you're just a high school graduate. It's embarrassing to have someone like that in our family.
She simply nodded and looked sharply at me.
And as Luna says, I don't want anything to do with a lazy playboy like you, even after the wedding.
I've never been lazy. I tried to correct her, but the mill wouldn't listen, and Luna just grinned at my troubled face.
People who slack off always say that. Emily became a respectable doctor, but just hearing that you're a high school graduate tells us all we need to know about you.
Aren't you being harsh in that way? I protested, but she remained unyielding. In fact, she went even further.
That's why you obviously won't be attending the wedding. We can't have a high school graduate in our family.
It seemed the mill judged people solely based on their education. Everyone has their own circumstances, and a person's worth isn't determined solely by their educational background. But it seems the mill doesn't understand this, and she labels me as a failure without any discussion. I'd like to object to that, but before I could respond, my sister and Enru returned, and I closed my mouth. I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day.
Michael, what's wrong? You look pale.
True. I wonder if we pushed him too hard at the meetup. Sorry about that.
Their kindness made me not want to worry them further. I changed my mood and replied with a smile. No, not at all. The meal was so good, and I just drank too much wine. I'm really enjoying today. The Mill and Luna were quietly smiling, apparently wanting to hide their true colors in front of my sister and Enru. But the coldness in their eyes when they looked at me remained. The meetup ended somehow, but I couldn't shake off the gloom even after returning home. The thought of having to deal with my sister's disdainful Mill and Luna's family weighed heavily on me, despite recovering from my illness and pursuing my dreams. It felt like I was burdened with new troubles. Nevertheless, I was committed to supporting my sister's happiness. I'm glad that Enru, who will be my brother-in-law, is a good person at least. I knew Enru's father. He didn't attend the meetup, to be gentle and kind. Enru must be like his father. So, not everything about this marriage was negative. Trying to stay positive, I brushed aside my foreboding farts. Time flew, and my sister's wedding day came. Despite what the Mill had said, I attended. I determined to not let her or Luna's words bother me on this important day for my sister. I put on my suit. The wedding took place at a grand hotel, chosen through discussion between my sister and her fiancé, Enru. It was a splendid wedding, not only gorgeous to look at, but also full of thoughtfulness for the guests. I was happy as the brother of the bride that so many hospital colleagues were there, and the mood was grand and celebratory. Enru looked dashing in his tuxedo, and my sister was breathtakingly beautiful in her wedding dress. My sister, who usually wears modest clothes, was shining brightly today. Seeing her so happy filled me with joy beyond my own. The ceremony smoothly transitioned into the reception. At first, the reception had a stiff mood, probably due to the large number of hospital staff attending. But soon the entertainment began, and the guests were in a pleasant mood. My sister and Enru, sitting at the main table, smiled warmly at the lively atmosphere. Then laughter from the Mill and Luna. Apparently, they got drunk on alcohol, which they were not used to drinking, and they were in a completely good mood with blushing red faces. It was rare to see a groom's mother getting drunk at the reception. Despite our past issues, I was concerned for her. A few minutes later, my concerns came true. She staggered over to the wedding MC, grabbed the microphone from him, and suddenly started to talk. Luna, her face flushed red from alcohol, came running after her mother, standing next to her mother and grinning.
Thank you all for gathering today for Andrew's wedding. I'm thrilled to have such educated and esteemed guests celebrating with us.
She began confidently despite her intoxication. But soon after, the unexpected words came out.
However, there's someone here who doesn't fit in with the rest of us. It's the bride's brother, Michael. He was a lazy high schooler who frequently skipped classes and didn't even go to college.
The whole room was buzzing, and all eyes turned to me. I turned blushing so red with embarrassment that my face almost caught fire. Looking around at the buzzing room, the Mill exhaled deeply with a satisfied look on her face. Then, pointing at me and laughing loudly, she declared,
High school graduates like you are a disgrace to our family. Leave now.
I felt so embarrassed and out of place by the Mill's sudden demand to leave my sister's wedding. It was incredibly rude to try to exclude me based on my education. especially since the information she had was wrong. I thought about standing up and loudly objecting right there, but I didn't want to ruin my sister's special day. To avoid further commotion, I realized the only option might be for me to leave. As I reluctantly stood to exit, someone stepped forward to confront the mill. It was the bride, my sister.
Wait a minute, you don't know what my brother's job, do you?
The mill appeared taken aback, not expecting my sister to interject. Meanwhile, Luna raised her voice in disbelief.
I don't even need to ask. I can tell. You're probably unemployed or a temp worker, right? A notorious slacker, and just a high school grad. You're only fit for the lowest of jobs.
While Luna laughed mockingly, my sister's face clouded with dismay. Then another person hurried over. It was my sister's Phil, the hospital director. His face flushed with anger and embarrassment. He scolded them while dripping with sweat.
What are you two saying? Do you realize what you've done?
Overreacting much. You must be embarrassed too, having a high school graduate in the family.
The mill was giggling and mocking me along with Luna. Hearing that response, the FIL's face turned even redder as he earnestly tried to explain.
No, Michael is a freelance surgeon. He's a skilled neurosurgeon, and hospitals all over the world are calling on him for help.
The mill stares at him with her mouth hanging open with surprise.
He's scheduled to perform a challenging surgery at our hospital soon, on my invitation. If he refuses it now, what will happen to our patients?
But Luna said he was just a high school graduate.
The mill stuttered, while Luna turned pale and looked at me with shock. However, the FIL's revelation was the truth. I didn't go directly to college from high school due to my illness. Thanks to Dr. Smith's surgery, I regained my health without any lingering effects and got my life back on track. Motivated by my own struggles with illness, I aspired to become a doctor to help others in similar situations. After years of dedicated effort, though a few years behind my peers, I managed to get into a prestigious medical school. I studied hard and passed the National Medical Licensing Exam. After obtaining my medical license, I had been under the supervision of Dr. Smith to practice and develop my skills, and now I was recognized as an outstanding neurologist. At the hospital where my sister works, I've been eagerly requested by the Phil, who is also the hospital director, to handle several challenging surgeries. As the mill and Luna fell silent, the Phil approached me.
Dr. Michael, I deeply apologize for my wife and daughter's disrespect. Please forgive us.
The Phil was desperately apologizing to me, but behind him, the mill and Luna stood in stunned silence. Noticing their inaction, the Phil beckoned them sternly.
What are you waiting for? Apologize to him.
Scolded harshly by the Phil, the two of them slowly approached me. They apologized reluctantly, but their expressions remained resentful, biting their lips in frustration and glaring at me. Please stop this, Director.
You forgive us?
He asked, and his face is lighting up with hope. But the situation wasn't that simple. No. Could I have some time to think about it? We are working at the same hospital, right? The thought of meeting these people makes it difficult for me to suppress my feelings of reluctance. As a doctor, I preferred to keep my work and personal life separate. However, the mere sight of the mill and Luna brought back unpleasant memories. Neurosurgery requires immense concentration, and even a slight tremor in my fingers could lead to grave consequences. Any distraction could endanger the lives of my patients, which is paramount importance. As much as I regretted it for the Phil, you had done nothing wrong. I couldn't continue with the surgery under these circumstances. I conveyed this, but to my surprise, the FIL's face brightened up unexpectedly.
That's fine. I'm planning to divorce my wife soon.
What? What are you saying?
The Mill's eyes widened, turning pale as she confronted the Phil. The alcohol's effects seemingly vanished.
This is too sudden. I haven't heard anything about this. Why would you say you're divorcing me?
Do you think I'm unaware of everything?
The Phil calmly pushed her away, contrasting her agitation.
While I've been busy managing the hospital, you've been quite out of line.
What are you talking about? I've been supporting you as the wife of the director.
She retorted desperately, but the Phil calmly revealed a shocking truth.
So, you've been using your director's wife title to exert power over others for years, huh?
I can't believe it.
The Mill, who had been so forceful earlier, now seemed lost for words, opening and closing her mouth as she searched for something to say. But the Phil continued his relentless critique. According to him, she targeted employees she disliked, overburdening them with unreasonable workloads. This led to those targeted staff members either falling ill from the stress or being forced to resign, contributing to significant understaffing issues at the hospital.
I admit I went too far with my supervision. I apologize, but that doesn't mean we should divorce.
I'm aware of your actions outside the hospital too. Recognize this.
He produced a photo of her with young men. He revealed her regular visits to host Kluba, extravagant outings, and buying them apartments as mistresses.
I've had enough of your reckless behavior.
Wait, it's not what you think. I didn't know about such places until Luna introduced me.
Luna's eyes widen, and her voice rises at her mother's unexpected betrayal.
Wait, Mom, are you abandoning me?
Well, you were the one who introduced me to that host club.
As the two bickered loudly, the Phil looked down on them calmly and declared,
I've had enough of you too, Luna.
Why me? I never went to those clubs.
You never work, just taking pocket money from Mom and wandering around aimlessly. I've warned you for years, but I've reached my limit. I'm cutting ties with both of you.
Hearing this, they collapsed in tears. The guests at the venue held their breath, listening to the family's exchange. It seemed clear who was at fault. From various corners of the room, murmurs could be heard. Mother and daughter were causing trouble for the director of the hospital. And I wish that family would just leave.
Why is everyone looking at us like that?
I did nothing wrong.
They tearfully begged the Phil for forgiveness. Feeling the discomfort of the judgmental gazes around them, they contorted their faces awkwardly and stumbled out of the reception hall. As their cries faded away, a sense of relief finally washed over the venue.
Michael, I'm so sorry I didn't realize you were being treated that way.
We're truly sorry for my mother and Luna causing you distress.
My sister and her husband, Enru, looked worried and comforted me. It seemed like my sister and I, along with her husband, would continue to have a good relationship. I'm really sorry for causing trouble at your wedding. I just want you both to be happy, I said with a smile. They both smiled back kindly. Not long after, I heard that the Phil and Mill divorced within a month. The Phil had been preparing for the divorce for a while and quickly ousted the Mill from the hospital and the house. She claimed her share of the property, but he, on the contrary, demanded compensation for her affairs. He even demanded reimbursement for the money she squandered on her affair partner, completely overpowering her. Luna, unemployed and having lost her home, desperately showed up at her family home and the hospital, trying to get living expenses from her father. Eventually, she attempted to break into the family home at night and was reported to the police. She was disowned by her furious father and forbidden to even go near her parents' house in the future. After trying to find employment at another hospital, the mill faced challenges due to the circulating rumors about her causing staff resignations. Consequently, no hospital was willing to hire her. She's currently working part-time, seemingly alongside her daughter. They're living in an old, run-down apartment, scraping by each day to make ends meet. Meanwhile, I continue my work as a doctor. Currently, I'm employed at the FIL's hospital, working alongside my sister to help people suffering from illnesses. Recently, I've hit it off with one of my sister's colleagues, and we've become close enough to go out for meals together. Enjoying these happy moments, I'm dedicated to working at the hospital for my patients today as well,